After 2.5 years of being bogged down in brutal trench warfare in eastern Ukraine, President Vladimir Putin appears to be attempting to adjust the narrative that the war has somehow revealed that Russia's military isn't as effective as the West believed before the invasion, and that Russia is no longer a global power. In early May, a 4-vessel flotilla set sail from northern fleet bases in and around Murmansk. The 4 vessels are a guided missile frigate Admiral Gorshkov, a salvage tug Nikolai Chaiker, a fleet oiler Academic Passion, and a wildcard, a guided missile submarine Kazan. The Gorshkov, which entered service in July of 2018, is one of the first to carry an air defense system that features the Parliament Phased Array Radar and the Redoute Surface-to-Air Missile System, a navalized derivative of the ground-based S-350. The frigate also has 16 vertical launch cells capable of accommodating the Caliber land attack cruise missile, which is similar to the Tomahawk land attack missile used by the U.S. Navy. The vertical launch system array can also fire the Onyx supersonic anti-ship cruise missile, and intel suggests they plan to integrate the hypersonic Zircon anti-ship missile onto the ships in the future. I'm sure you've noticed that the cost of everyday items like gas and groceries has gone up, but now you can fight price hikes by using the sponsor of this episode, Upside. Upside lets you earn cash back on purchases you already make every day. Using it is easy. All you have to do is claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside and then pay with a credit or debit card. And yes, it's real cash back. No confusing rewards or points, just actual money you can transfer straight to your bank account. There are over 85,000 gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants on the Upside app. Let me show you how easy it is. The team vehicle here needs gas, so I click on the Upside app, select gas, and I get results for all the stations in my area and the amount of cash back I'll get with each gallon I pump. In this case, the station closest to my location is offering 61 cents per gallon. Top Upside earners are making as much as $300 a month doing their regular routines, and over $1 million in cash back is being earned by Upside users each week. To find out how much you can earn, click the link in the episode description to download Upside and use my promo code Carroll to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon of your first tank of gas. That offer is only available to people who use my code, so click the link in the description or scan the QR code here to download Upside. Again, use the code Carroll to start earning today. The Kazan is one of 3 super quiet Yasin M-class nuclear-powered cruise missile-carrying submarines that can also carry the Caliber and Onyx. The Yasin M-class is also more versatile than previous Russian subs, able to operate as general-purpose attack boats as well as a cruise missile platform. While not packing the amount of punch of a U.S. Navy carrier strike group, the flotilla conducted a high-visibility show of force once it reached the open waters of the North Atlantic off of Norway, simulating the launch of Calibers and the targeting of an American P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft. The flotilla continued south at 10 knots, limited by the max speed of the Chaiker. Despite their sluggish performance, attaching salvage tugs to flotillas has become standard practice for the Russian Navy since the 90s, when the carrier Kuznetsov had a habit of breaking down during deployments. The Chaiker itself has been used several times to tow the ill-fated carrier back to port after its power plant failed on the high seas. Navalists on social media tracked the progress of this flotilla as it passed Bermuda and drew within 30 nautical miles of the coast of Florida. The ships, and presumably the Kazan, although unlike the ships, we don't have any evidence for sure that we knew where the sub was for the duration of the transit, were tracked from the air by both U.S. Navy P-8s and Canadian Auroras, which provided invaluable experience for those crews against their toughest potential opponent, while an international task force of surface combatants shadowed the flotilla. The task force consisted of the U.S. Navy's Arleigh Burke-class destroyers USS Truxtun and USS Donald Cook, the U.S. Coast Guard's Legend-class cutter Stone, and the Royal Canadian Navy's Halifax-class frigate Ville de Quebec. These ops were reminiscent of the cat and mouse that used to go on in the Mediterranean my first couple of aircraft carrier deployments, when we'd both shadow and attempt to evade Soviet Krivaks and Ceremonies and Oscar-class submarines. And although the Gorshkov and Kazan are capable of carrying nuclear weapons, the Russian Defense Ministry made it a point to announce that neither vessel had any nukes aboard. But the Kremlin's message was clear: you're in our part of the world, but don't forget we can be in yours. The flotilla arrived in Havana the middle of last week for a 5-day port call, the first for the Russian Navy there since 2019. They were greeted by pomp and ceremony, including a 21-gun salute for each ship. Russia and Cuba have had a historically close relationship, and Putin has recently focused on keeping it that way. In early May, he hosted Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel during the annual Victory Day parade on Red Square, and at that time they finalized the plans for the Havana port call. Putin has also cryptically hinted at taking, quote-unquote, asymmetrical steps to supply weapons that could be used for strikes against Western targets, which evokes the specter of the Cuban Missile Crisis between Kennedy and Khrushchev in 1962, where the two countries got perilously close to a nuclear exchange before the Soviet Union withdrew the missiles. And as the Kazan pulled in several days ago, the United States had the USS Helena, a Los Angeles-class fast attack submarine, make a port call to Guantanamo Bay on the eastern tip of Cuba. The message there was also clear. We know where your subs are, and if we see you trying to attack us, we'll sink you first. When the Russian flotilla's port call ends today or tomorrow, the Defense Ministry has stated that the ships will remain in the Caribbean, conducting exercises and showing the flag, and perhaps supporting their ally Venezuela in that country's dispute with neighboring Guyana over newly discovered offshore oil deposits. Whatever the case, while China remains the Pentagon's pacing threat, the activities of this relatively small flotilla are a reminder that the U.S. and its NATO allies would be unwise to sleep on Russia as long as Putin remains in power, and his most recent re-election suggests he's not going anywhere anytime soon. That'll do it for this episode. If you're not already a subscriber, become one so you don't miss anything going forward. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please consider using the super thanks, the heart icon below, or become a patron at patreon.com/wardcarroll. And in the meantime, I look forward to talking to you again very soon.